Hey everyone, Jason here, fellow entrepreneur, and as you know, there's always more to do on that to-do list than there is time in the day. So in this productivity guide, we'll be going through 4 actionable steps we can all take to plan our weeks better as entrepreneurs. Timestamps below, along with some other helpful productivity guides, like how to stay organized with whatever file management system you have and tame the monster that is your inbox. So as we dive in, we all know that being busy doesn't necessarily mean being productive. And so the very first thing we want to do, which is super counterintuitive, but this has been really life-altering when it comes to my own productivity, and that is actually planning your recreation time first. Now, before we get all the thumbs down and rage in the comments, hear me out. When it comes to entrepreneurship, building a business specifically, you really have 2 different approaches. You have the discipline approach, where you are essentially chaining yourself to your laptop and your desk, and you're just gritting your teeth getting it out. And then you have the sacrifice approach, where you actively decide, I'm going to spend time on my business and at my desk versus, I don't know, watching Netflix, going for a run, doing whatever else is infinitely more fun, seems infinitely more fun at the time. And so when it comes to being disciplined and saying, I'm just going to work, that takes a lot more energy than accepting the fact that you're going to sacrifice free time in order to make your business work. And with that sacrifice, you're not going to sacrifice everything, because at the end of the day, you can't work 12 hours a day, go to bed, and then do that the next day over again for the rest of time, right? We all need breaks, despite what all of those motivational Instagram posts would have you believe. And so scheduling your time off is arguably the most important part of planning your week, so that you know when you actually get to rest, and most importantly, your brain actually gets to know when it gets to rest. And this is something that I highly recommend doing, whether you're taking an entire day on a Sunday or Saturday, or you're just saying, you know what, from the hours of 7 to 9 at night, that's my free time where I get to watch Netflix or do whatever else that you actually want to do. And the second big benefit here is it's going to help you stay so much more focused when you're at your desk or in a coffee shop actually working, because you're not going to have as much of a problem saying, oh, I want to check this, or oh, I want to check that, because you've scheduled when you get to mindlessly scroll through Instagram or Facebook. You've already scheduled when you get to catch up on the next show. And spoiler alert, you actually find that you will be a lot more picky with what you watch and do with your free time when you actually think ahead of time what you actually want to do. And it will be tremendously helpful in actually helping you start to design the type of life that you want, because obviously I'm going to assume that you're building a business because you want some sort of lifestyle or freedom that you may or may not have now. And so starting to plan out that sort of lifestyle and freedom now is going to make building your business just that much more enjoyable. Okay, so once you have your time off, whether it's a full day, it's a couple hours at the end of the day, or maybe an hour in the morning for some reason, that we're going to go ahead and go to number 2, and that is choosing 2 to 3. So let me break this down, because being productive isn't, of course, about just checking off everything on your to-do list. It's about completing the things that are really important right now and are actually going to push your business forward. So what I recommend doing, either on a weekly or a daily basis, is choosing 2 to 3 main tasks that you focus on, and this will also force you to batch different types of tasks. So as an example, I record a lot of YouTube videos, and it's a lot more productive if I record 2 or 3 in one sitting versus one on Monday, one on Tuesday, and one on Wednesday. Sorry for hitting the mic. And so the reason that you want to do this is you're going to find that you have a lot more energy, and you're going to be a lot more productive when you group similar tasks together, and then you have clear, concrete goals for your day or your week in chunks of 2 to 3. Now, the third one, I actually recommend always being CEO time, but we'll get to that in number 4. But essentially here, you just want to choose 2 to 3 really important projects or tasks that you're going to tackle that day or that week, and then ignore everything else. This also really helps with shiny object syndrome, because we don't want to wake up Monday, start on one project, and then by Wednesday, we're working on project 3 or 4, and then we get to the end of the week and we have 6 projects that are a quarter to a half done, but we haven't actually moved the needle at all, and then we have to start all over again the next week. So it's really important doing 2 to 3 really big projects or goals over the course of a day or the course of a week, and that keeps you super focused, and it makes sure that you are being very, very intentional with your time, because we all have the same amount of time. What we don't have is the same amount of energy to complete every single project on our to-do list. And so we have to prioritize. Choosing 2 to 3 will help you prioritize. Now, speaking of prioritizing, number 3 is going to be time blocking. So I'll link up in the cards in the description to a super deep dive video on time blocking. Here we're just going to 80-20, maybe 90-10, the time blocking process. So let's go ahead and jump into my screen here and take a look at how I apply this and make sure that we schedule out everything that's important to get done in our day with those 2 to 3 things. And I like to say, if it's not on the calendar, it's probably not going to happen. No, this is not the same as a to-do list. This is a system for setting appointments with yourself so you actually have time to tackle those important 2 to 3 tasks that you've identified. So let's go ahead and dive in here. So here's an example of what an ideal week might look like, and this is actually what my schedule was just a couple months ago. Disclaimer alert, I'm not waking up at 4 a.m. right now, but in the past I've had to in order to get everything done that we needed to meet the quarter's goals. And so this is another time where you're actually going to be able to start to see, oh, you know what? I said 2 or 3 things, but I really only have time to get 1 done. So we have to be really realistic with how much time we actually have. And so I recommend starting off your day with something called maker time. And this is going to be where you find that one big project, that one big goal, and you give as much time as you can to it. I recommend anywhere from 3 to 4 hours. I know that sounds really insane, but depending upon where you are, if you're in side hustle mode, that might mean that you only spend the first 2 hours of your day really focused, and then you have to go to work or whatever else is on your plate. Now, the second thing I recommend having on your calendar is, of course, the stones. And these are everything. This is everything in your life that is immovable because it's an outside force, like a boss told you, you have to show up to work today, or it's something that you are setting as a priority for yourself, whether it's health, family, or something else. In this particular instance, my stone is going to be working out and actually eating because I do a terrible job of remembering to eat during the day. And then the next time block that I recommend having is some sort of communication time. So when it comes to your maker time, because you've scheduled your recreation time, hopefully you're not as distracted and you can really focus and not say, oh, I need a 10-minute break to watch one YouTube video. Go those 3 or 4 hours pretty much straight. Obviously, you can take a break to grab coffee and water, but don't distract yourself, right? And once you have that, of course, you've gone a lot of the day without actually talking to anyone, which is really good because it means you've been productive. But if you are going to be an entrepreneur and business owner here, then eventually you do have to probably talk to other people like clients, or maybe you have some people on your team. And so having a time block for communication time is really good. And I recommend only checking your email 1 to 2 times a day. And this also really helps cut down on the distractions you have during that maker time. That maker time is what allows you to focus on those 2 to 3 tasks, even though I recommend CEO being the 3rd task. So let's say 1 to 2 really important tasks for the day or the week. And then finally, things don't always go according to plan, right? So make sure you have plenty of space in your schedule. Time blocking is not about scheduling every single minute of the day. It is about giving a job or task to every single minute of the day. And sometimes that job or task is simply to be an open space. And I highly recommend having those times in your day where you have an open space. I've been time blocking for about 2.5 or 3 years now, and I always have something to do in that buffer block because things never go according to plan. This is obviously an ideal schedule. The end of the week, it never ever looks like this, but at least we have a plan and we've started. Now, speaking of a plan, the last tip I have for you is always having CEO time. And I recommend this being 2 to 3 hours of your week, and all you need to do here is 2 things. Number 1, set your goals and plan out the next week. And then number 2, delegate tasks. Now, even if you don't have the budget for a virtual assistant or you're just a one-person operation right now, which is how we all start out, the second part I think is arguably more important than the first when it comes to starting to change your task management behavior. And of course, setting goals is very important, but when it comes to your productivity behavior, switching from, oh, how am I going to get this done, to who can get this done is a huge, monumental difference. And it's what allows you to go from solopreneur over to entrepreneur. And not that there's anything wrong with being solopreneurs. A lot of solopreneurs still have virtual assistants. I'm not saying anything bad about that. So let's go ahead and jump into what I like to call the time value ladder. So when you give a value to everything on your to-do list, you start to actually see which types of tasks you should be really focusing on what are those 2 or 3 tasks that you specifically should be doing, and what are all those other tasks that someone else could do just as well, if not a better job. And so even if you don't have the budget, I recommend going over to Fiverr once you've gone through this and try and delegate 2 or 3 things on your to-do list that are on the bottom of this pyramid, and just see how it goes. You're going to find that there's a lot of back and forth. You're going to get a lot of work that doesn't actually even represent remotely close to what you were asking for. But what's most important here is you start developing the skill of writing out what you actually want someone else to do, and then learning how to delegate that, because that's an invaluable skill. It's something every entrepreneur needs to learn and actually understand, because eventually you are going to have to grow a team. So I highly recommend making this your time where you begin switching that question from how am I going to get this done over the next week to who can actually get this done for me. And even if that's just going to Fiverr or hiring a part-time virtual assistant, all of those baby steps will help in the long run to actually start building a team to help you with everything that you need to get done. So thank you so much for watching. Sincerely hope you got some ideas on how you can plan your week better and be more productive. So comment below with your productivity questions, hit that like button, subscribe for more productivity guides just like this one and marketing videos. And until the next, keep building the business you love.